Hi there, this is Mark Ambrose from Witham URC, and this is just something that I do midweek, just catch everybody up with what's going on. Been an interesting week for me this week because Deb's daughter, her youngest daughter Ellie, decided to go and live down in Cornwall, and she's been down there since the funeral, and all her stuff is sitting upstairs, was sitting upstairs in my spare bedroom. So the last couple of days I took a couple of days holiday and travelled down to, hired a van and travelled down to Cornwall, to Penzance, where she's living, and delivered it all to her. Why am I saying this? Well, on the way there and on the way back, I didn't, obviously driving on my own, it was a kind of nice time really, to get my thoughts together and to just think and pray. And I noticed as I was going along so many church buildings, and of course most of them are redundant at the moment, and the early church met in homes, so it wasn't used to having church buildings. But church buildings have always been very significant. In the Bible, the temple, God gave instructions how to build the temple, and from then synagogues were built where people worshipped. And the early church met in homes, but soon they were starting to build churches, places where people would go to worship. And there is something very special about worshipping in a church, I'm sure you'll agree. As you go into a church, there is this wonderful atmosphere, an atmosphere of prayer, an atmosphere of praise and worship, that does help give an atmosphere in those places that makes you want to worship God. It encourages you. You feel the closeness of the presence of God. It's very special. Of course, we in our church building are very blessed to have a church building right in the centre of town. And it's lovely to be there because as people go through town to do their shopping, to do anything, there's a church building there pointing to God. And even when it's redundant, it's been useful. I heard this morning as I got up that Boris has agreed that churches can open again for services on the 4th of July. Now, on the face of it, this is really good news, and there's no one more excited, will be more excited to me than when we actually can meet together and carry on where we left off in a way. Not to say that the time that we haven't been away hasn't been useful, and we haven't learnt a lot, and a lot of us have found real blessings during this time, as well as the trying part of not being able to speak to people and meet people and worship together. Now, I want to say right at the outset that we're not absolutely certain when our church will reopen for worship. There are a number of things that we need to consider, and we have a group of elders who've been working on this for some time. We have the whole thing about making sure that the church is clean each time it's used, making sure that you don't catch the virus from walking into the church and touching a chair or touching a book or whatever it might be. At the moment, we're not sure whether we can use the toilets at the church. If we can't, that's going to be a big problem for people with young children and also some of the older people. So these things we have to take into account. Also, there are many people who are vulnerable, elderly people, people who've got various health problems, and they won't be joining us as we worship because they will be shielding still. And how long for, we simply don't know. But I would not want to encourage anybody to come into the church building if they are feeling concerned about these kind of things. We will continue to provide services online or in the various ways that we do at the moment. So please don't worry that you're going to miss out. But we're starting to now plan and think about how we might reopen our church. But do be patient and give us time. There is so much to consider and so many things that need to be sorted out before we can do that. Boris just says that you can start next week, but for us it's quite a big planning process, and we would really be very upset if anybody caught the virus from being at church. It would really not be good. So we're going to be very careful, but equally it would be great to get back and worship together. How we're going to, I don't know. Whether we're going to be allowed to sing, I simply don't know at the moment. Apparently the government produced guidelines after they've made the announcement. So in the next few days I shall know a little bit more about how we can worship together in the church. Other things in the church we will be opening at certain times, but not yet. So please don't think anything's imminent, because it's going to take weeks to prepare and to make sure that we are safe in opening our building. Anyway, that's my thought for today. Buildings, you know, a lot of people say buildings aren't important. We can have our faith at home, wherever we are, we can be with God. But buildings are important. These buildings that have been set aside to worship God, they have got a unique place, and they do enable us to come together as a family and worship together. So let's enjoy being separate, but let's also enjoy the time when we can come together again. Okay, may God bless you, and if there is anything that we can do at the church, any concerns or problems you have, please do get in touch and we will try and get back to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, bye for now.